Okay, so my name is Sonia. I am originally from Italy. Now I live in Australia. So I've been here for like 2 years. It's gonna be three soon.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm traveling with in my van with my boyfriend, and we live online. We're like digital nomads, so it's like we work online and then we move to city to city. And yeah, I just really love this lifestyle, and it's also why I'm staying here, just because it's possible to do it. And
Yeah.
also, my business really was able to take off because of this lifestyle. Like, I think I give the best of me when I'm not in the same place.
Yeah.
So every time I'm traveling, it's like, oh, okay, new idea, new creativity that is flowing in.
Yes. I absolutely understand that. I feel like whenever I travel, it's like I kind of feel like all these different things like challenge me to like know more about myself. Like I was like, oh, this person thinks about this differently and does this differently. Why do I do or think this way? I feel like it challenges me.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Also for the culture and all of this stuff. Like it's very nice to meet different people from all over the world. They all have their background and the stories to tell. And it's just nice to be like to have the chance to be surrounded by people that are different. It's really like it's like learning from an open book from every person that you meet. And I feel like in my country, like in Italy, you don't have that much diversity, and it's still like everything is still the same. Like, of course, you meet different people, but I don't know, maybe because I'm Italian, but every time I'm traveling, it's just like eye-opening and different things, new words. So it's nice.
That's so awesome. How did you first get into web design and branding?
I knew that I wanted to work online. That was like the number one thing. When I came to Australia, I was changing job every time I was moving city, and it was not sustainable. So I decided like, okay, I'm gonna just start to do something online. So I did like a travel blog, and then I wanted to be like an influencer and that kind of stuff. And then I was talking with a friend of mine. She was like, oh, I actually work as a virtual assistant and I can travel the world. Okay, I'm gonna do it. So that's when I really got serious and I was like starting my business and I'm gonna be a virtual assistant. This is gonna be amazing. And I actually got some clients, but I didn't like being a virtual assistant at all. So it was more like, oh, yeah, I'm just gonna do it because so I can make money and keep traveling, but I was not really enjoying. And I had two clients that were like they needed some help with their website. And I remember that I was just looking forward to work with them and that day of the week. So at a certain point, I was like, I need to really decide what I'm gonna do, and I just decided to drop everything and I focus on web design. And from there, I decided also to invest in like courses, coaches, mentors, a lot of stuff. And then I developed like my business with web design and branding. And actually, the more I was doing web design, the more I was getting into branding. So like 6 months ago, everything was web design, and I really love web design. And now it's like I fucking love branding. Like I would talk about branding all day. And I also love web design, but it's just like it's funny to see how things are shifting. And like you start one thing and then you fall in love with something else. So it was really funny.
So when it comes to branding, why do you think you've kind of like shifted towards branding? Like what is it about branding that you love?
Well, like with branding, you really work with the person and not just the person who you are. Like if I had to work with you, it's not just like tell me what you like, your services, and I'm just gonna do a website. But it's more like tell me about your childhood and tell me about like everything. Tell me it's really deep, and it's my way to really work. Like I really work with myself with deep things and like thoughts, but it's hard to integrate this part of me in a regular job. Like even when I was working in the retail, it's like yeah, you never talk about deep stuff. It's always like, yeah, have a nice day and all of that.
Exactly.
So it's really surface level. So now that I have the opportunity to really dig deeper with these people, it's like it's different. And I don't know, like I've always felt like I'm very good with the deep stuff, and I'm also good at listening and make people open open and share their story and their cultural background and all of that stuff. And if I don't know these things, then branding is really hard because it's not about putting an image out there, but it's about translating your personality and everything that you have into like visual images and all of that stuff. So it's really it's it's deep.
Yeah, that's amazing because I feel like I know a lot of people or like artists and they'll say like I hate branding because you kind of have to stay in this like almost like stagnant image where you're like, oh wait, I have to always make things look this particular way. Whereas I feel like a lot of creative people like they're always changing, always transforming. So
Yeah,
I've heard people complain about branding more than it being like a, you know, like a deep, like reflective expression of like who
yeah.
you are, which I think is like a much better perspective to have on it because it can be that.
It can be exactly, and I think a lot of people really have a branding problem, like it's exactly as you said, like they don't like branding. And I really also have a lot of clients complaining that they don't want to focus on branding because they don't want to put themselves into a box.
Hmm.
And it makes me think that probably branding was supposed to be like that in the past. Maybe it was just like this is the image that we're gonna go for, and that's it. And I also think that a lot of people think of branding as something for big companies. So you're thinking of Apple and Starbucks, like they're not gonna change their branding, but at the same time, they are really, you don't know the person behind. You really know just Starbucks and Apple. While for us, it's like small businesses. So it's more like the person behind everything. So it's also easier to manage branding like that. I think also you should set up your branding for growth and not just for stability or for, like regular stuff. So if you really are able to set it up for growth, then you're gonna change, you're gonna evolve, but your branding is still gonna make sense rather than change completely, like drastically.
Hmm. Just kind of like I'm thinking in my head now, like certain artists who like for example Prince. I mean, like we watched a transformation, but we still always knew it was Prince. You know?
Exactly, exactly. That's exactly branding. Like you could see the first piece and the last one, and maybe they're not the same, but there's this kind of connection that only the same person could make, and that's branding. That's why it's nice.
Like I just said, you know, like people will like struggle with branding because they'll say like it feels maybe inauthentic, but how do you think people can stay true to themselves and still be able to brand?
Yeah, I think, yeah, that's it. Well, people need to stay also true to themselves in a honest way. So I feel like a lot of people don't really want to put themselves out there. So, for example, like if I have to think like the majority of my clients, they all had this same branding that it was like pink and purple and dusky, all those colors that it's like so similar because you want to be vanilla and you really want to be liked and loved by everyone. While sometimes you need to let go of some people and focus on what really matters. So if you want to have a branding and develop a branding that is true to yourself, you have to be true to yourself first. So it's more important this than the actual colors and the fonts and all of that stuff.
Right.
So I think there's like a huge behind the scenes work that it's not even work with me, but just like work with yourself. And then we try to translate this into the colors and all of that stuff.
How do you think identity and branding like complement each other? Like branding can really like express who you truly are.
I think it really ties back to understanding who you are as a person and trying to translate this. And it depends on all the cultural baggage that you have from your childhood till today. I think that it's probably easier to explain it with me. But like when I started my own branding, it was not that vanilla, but somehow I was trying to represent myself for who I was right at that time, which is fine. But it was not setting up for growth. It was just like I am like that right now. That's fine. And whatever comes next, then I have to change everything again. While what I'm doing now, it's more like tapping into who I am really. Like this is just like a mask and like my body, but there's a whole other person behind me. So it's really tapping into my roots and my past and all of that. And the more I'm working on that, the more I am reconnecting to my like identity. And it's really healing because I've never thought about that. Like it's more something that sometimes I have to work like through journaling or yeah, like yoga, meditation, that kind of stuff. But it's nice knowing that this deep stuff, it's the kind of work that is gonna help me build my business and keep growing. Like it's again, it's not something that every job can allow you.
When you say like branding to set up for growth, like what does that mean exactly?
It means that you are allowing yourself to have some space where you can evolve. So not having a set of rules that is just like that and you cannot change it, but just like
Okay.
being also yourself, being flexible with yourself, knowing that, for example, for the color, if you pick green, you can even pick one shade lighter and one shade darker in that kind of sense. And if it's more like from like a strategy, so like the behind the scenes and the deep stuff, knowing that it's okay to change your mind and not that you should always keep on with the idea that you had when you started your branding because you're human, you have to change. And it would be weird if you had the same idea throughout your life.
Mhm.
So I think that like it depends on what exactly you want to set up for growth, but it depends like it's divided into the personal stuff and the colors and the aesthetically pleasing.
So how would you say that like before you kind of started like digging more into yourself and like reconnecting to yourself on a deeper level, like compared to how you branded before, like what would you say were like the most significant changes? Like do you feel like more creative or just like certain things you're just like, okay, wait, I see this now. Like, yeah, that.
Yeah, yeah. I think in the beginning everything was more like asking the person about their businesses and I was just taking notes and then creating the branding. While now it's like you're gonna tell me about your business as the very last thing because we still need it. But now it's more like tell me about you and really talking about the dreams, the future, the goals and all of that stuff. And sometimes it's also a matter of calling them out, like maybe they really want to go in this direction and it's like bringing them back, like can you see that this not really aligns with who you are as a person and we can see through all the different choices and decisions they made in their lives, like this is not in alignment, so maybe we could go another direction. And it's not something that you could do if you don't get to know on a deeper level these people. Otherwise it's just gonna be easy and just like maybe you come to me and it's like okay, I really like red, so everything's gonna be red and I'm just gonna give it to you and you can love it for 1 month, two max, and then you're not going to be satisfied because it was too surface level.
How would you say that you would describe your brand? Because like I've looked at your pages and I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. I really feel like I know that I haven't known you for a long time and like we've only met like virtually, but like I feel like there is like a genuine like softness and like this kind of like beautiful hue to your pages that I'm like, oh, when I'm
Thank
on your page,
you.
like I feel good. Like I'm like, I feel good just looking at her page.
Thank you.
So how would you describe it? Like how would you describe like how you
Yeah,
express your brand?
I have to find a name for that. I don't know. I think like I really want to find a name around like reconnecting with yourself.
Mm.
It's more like that's what I always say. I don't want to represent you for who you are right now, but I want to represent your true essence. So the person that you are gonna be in 80 years and in and tomorrow.
Mm.
So I have to find a name actually. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I know
probably
it's
gonna
hard.
be. I know. I don't want to use the word authentic. I think everyone uses it right now.
Yeah.
Probably I have to think about it, but I'm gonna come back with a cool name.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because I feel like I have that same issue where people are like, how would you describe your style? And I'm like, I don't know.
Exactly, exactly.
I'm like, it's just me. I'm like, I think. I'm like, yeah. Because I feel like
It's
there's some people
definitely
that are like,
you.
oh, you're like avant-garde, or you're like hippie, or you're like, colorful, or you're like an artist. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like I'm like all of that.
Yeah, and at the same time, you don't even want to put a label because that would be too restrictive. So it's good to have a label for other people so you know what you're talking about. But when it comes to this, it's like I don't know. I have to find a name.
I totally feel that. Why do you think branding is important for people to do for their businesses?
It's gonna be important if they decide that their brand, their business, it's the business. It's not just like a side hobby or a side hustle, but if they're really sure about that, and also if they're willing to build like a, how can I say, like genuine is not the right word, but like ethical in a way that is like true to yourself. So there are a lot of companies out there that are really fake and they take advantage of a lot of people, and they are probably not really working on what they want and what they want for the client and customer. So if you're actually sure that, like, if you're genuine about what you do, then you will need branding and you will develop it even on your own. Exactly like you really have a strong personal branding. Maybe it's not like the aesthetically part and like the logos and all of that stuff, but you have your personality and all of that. So it's just like a matter of putting it in a like digital container, if that makes sense.
Totally, totally. I've seen like some of your posts and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to like keep note of that. Like you post things where it's like just really great tips. And I'm just like,
Thank you.
I come across like people's pages and I'm just always so like floored when someone like has not blown up yet who like totally deserves to have like so many followers, and you are one of those people for
Thank you so much.
course.
That means a lot, really. I have a lot of imposter syndrome around that actually, because I've never been to design school or anything. So I know I feel like sometimes I have to complement this thing that I like. I don't have like a design education, so I have to give more of what other designer can give so that I can be accepted. That's it. Like I know it's complicated, but
Totally. And I feel like now it's so weird. Like, I feel like we were taught, like, you have to go to school in order for people to take you seriously. But it's so funny because I'm like, I have a master's, but I literally can't get a job in my field because
it's
I don't have experience.
I know,
If
I
you have
know.
experience, I feel like that outweighs, education in a lot of cases.
Yeah, I think like how society is structured is like you have to go to school and then you have to find a job in your field. But if you don't have experience, you cannot find a job. If you don't have a job, you cannot get experience. And it's like you get trapped in this and you end up never working for what you're studying. Like I really hope you find like the job that you're looking for. But it's like I really think for how society is structured, it's just like what I'm supposed to do. There's no way.
Exactly. It's so crazy. And it's like that like all over the world too.
Exactly, I know.